My name is Gabriel Edward Nalley, and I was born right here on the Woodward property.
The house you grew up in was on the Belair Stud Farm. So this is the actual house you grew up in.
It was born in right in that house. All of the kids were born in that house.
Wow. When was that house built? Do you remember when the house was built?
I often wondered, because each section that we was talking about, that the manager, each section had a big house on it, just like that. Of course, Levitt tore that one down.
So your dad started working for the farm in 1909. You were born in 1917.
Yeah.
And then you went to school at a one-room schoolhouse on 197.
Yeah.
And then you left that in 7th grade to go work for
on
the farm. What was your job on the farm?
I was just a regular farmhand. Did everything it had to be done on the farm. We raised tobacco, corn on the farm. Just anything that was connected with just plain farming, we did it on the farm.
So your dad was the caretaker for the Belair Stud Farm, and then you took that over when he passed away, or?
When my dad had passed away, yeah.
You worked for old Mr. Woodward and young Mr. Woodward.
Oh, yeah. I only met young Mr. Woodward once or twice, but the old Mr. Woodward, when he came down from New York, as a rule, he would send word that he wanted to talk to me. And so I went up there, and it was nothing particular, it was just talk. He was a great guy.
He just wanted to know how things were going, or what was it?
I always wanted to know how things were going.
And always told you always had a job whenever you wanted it.
He told me, he said, you got a job the rest of your life.
Did he spend much time with the horses, or?
He loved them, but I don't think that he was, like when Fitzimmons came to visit, as a rule, they went to the different stables, and Mr. Fitzimmons would kind of like to go over the horses, the colts, and pick out the ones that he liked. The ones that I don't remember, they were sent back to Aqueduct racetrack. That's when they started training them.
So Mr. Fitzimmons would come and pick out the ones he liked.
After they were the foals in Kentucky, the foals come to the farm. He must have been pretty sharp, but anyhow.
He knew what to look for.
He knew what to look for.
Yeah.
He was very sharp.
So did you go to the racetrack much for fun, or?
Not very much. We sure didn't have any. Used to go over there on the rail and watch run. But as far as money is concerned, that was one big thing we was lacking of. I went to the Kentucky Derby, and I was just another person was walking around, and I wanted to go to the stables and just say something to Mr. Fitzimmons. And I talked my way into one of the gatekeepers to let me go. He wouldn't say that we had a chance or what, but he was very good to talk to. And later I heard that when Nashua was running, he had a half brother running in the same race. They had been kind of teared up together, and so the way I understand it, Mr. Fitzimmons told the jockey just to keep in front of the horse, because Nashua was kind of a sneaky. He won a lot of races, but it was by just a barely win. So he said, just keep in front of this horse. That's all you got to do. He didn't realize that Swaps was on the outside, just balling it. So Swaps beat Nashua. And then the big talk was that who had the best horse, Swaps or Nashua. So somewhere or another, they got the match race. You heard that.
Sure. How old were you? Did you lived on the farm too, or?
Yeah, I lived on the farm till I was about 16. But like I say, the farm, when he died in '56, and that's about when the farm actually broke up. So I was only about 10 years old, so I don't remember much. This house was on the farm. He had the house moved here.
Yeah, what was that like? Do you remember, what was that like? What happened when you moved this house here?
Well, Levitt was going to push him down, so I asked Mr. Levitt if I could buy one, and he said you could probably buy one from him cheaper than what I could move one. And he said, I'll just give you an idea. First, he said you can probably buy one of his houses cheaper than I could move one. Well, the first thing I thought, when you walk out the main door, you're probably on somebody else's property. And I'd been used to living on 2,300 acre farm and doing anything I wanted to do. So he started to tell me that you got to buy the ground, then you got to get somebody to dig the basement, you got to put in a well, and he went on and on and on. And he said, now, if you want the house, do you want to move the house, you can have it. I said it won't. So it didn't charge me anything, but by the time I finished, I probably had a little bit more in it than what I could have bought was his. But I couldn't have Gary lives on you got lab.
Yeah.
Were those stone pillars out front? Are they from the farm?
Yeah.
Those are actually from the Woodward Estate.
Yeah. Where were they at on the farm?
Right down to the end of the street.
Oh, yeah?
On the property.
Oh, okay.
And they came to me and asked me if I wanted them. And I told them no, I didn't want them, because you got to pick the thing up and move them. It just happened that a friend of mine had a front end loader in here. So we picked them up just to see if it would work. So shoot, wasn't no time we had to move.
These are all the horses here.
These were all some of the horses Woodward owned.
Wow.
This halter here is
What's that? The
one of Gallant Fox's.
should I take it down? Gary, you wanted me to? Should I?
Here, I get it.
Okay. That's
That was Gallant Fox's. He's got his name right on it.
Gallant Fox was.
Yeah.
wow.
I was the father of one of the four. Yeah.
Father of Omaha, wasn't it?
Huh?
Was the father of Omaha?
Yeah.
And they were the...
And this Gallant Fox was.
That's one of, what is that? A bridle? What do you call that?
It's
a-
a halter.
A halter? I see.
This is Gallant Fox by Sir Galahad III out of Marguerite by Celt. Thousands jammed the Pimlico racecourse for the 55th running of the Preakness Stakes. Prominent spectators were Vice President Charles Curtis and his sister, Mrs. Dalligan, shown here with Matt Dager, then General Manager of Pimlico. "11 cracked 3-year-olds paraded to the post for the mile and 3/16 test. Starter Jim Milton had his troubles with the boys at the barrier and imposed a few fines. They're off, with Snowflake, Gallant Fox, and Crack Brigade first away. And as the field came down past the stands, it was Tetrarchal and Crack Brigade battling for the lead. Going into the first turn, Gallant Fox was 8th and in trouble. That's me, Clem McCarthy, broadcasting the race from Pimlico that day, telling the radio audience how, as they came off the turn, Sandy took Gallant Fox to the outside and moved up with the leaders. It was a duel now between Crack Brigade and Gallant Fox. In the stretch, it was Gallant Fox in the lead, and Crack Brigade right alongside. But Gallant Fox and Earl Sandy pulled away to win the Preakness by 3/4 of a length. Despite the weather, Churchill Downs was packed for the 56th running of the Kentucky Derby. England's Lord Derby, whose family name was given to Britain's greatest race, was a distinguished visitor and posed for the cameras with Joseph E. Widener and Colonel Matt Wynne. 14 3-year-old colts and 1 filly paraded to the post in the rain over a good track. Gallant Fox wore number 7, and Earl Sandy, trying for his 3rd Derby victory, was in the saddle. It was a good start from the gate, and the field roared down past the stands with the filly Alcibiades setting the pace. Colonel Bradley's Buckeye Poet was 2nd, Tannery 3rd. Gallant Fox was in close quarters as the 15 thoroughbreds raced for the first turn, and it was still the Howell Price Headley filly Alcibiades in the lead. As the field went into the backstretch, they had stepped the first quarter in 23-1, and the half in 47-4 over this wet track. In the stretch, it was Gallant Fox in the lead, with Gallant Knight and Crack Brigade. The Fox of Belair was too much for them, and Sandy brought him on to win easily. It was the 3rd Kentucky Derby victory for Earl Sandy, and another 3-year-old triumph for Gallant Fox. And so Gallant Fox and Earl Sandy went to the winner's circle for the blanket of roses and the famous Kentucky Derby Cup. In the Belmont Stakes, 4 3-year-olds in the 1.5-mile classic. Gallant Fox on the inside goes right to the front with Questionnaire, Swinfield, and Which One following him in that order. This was the big test for Gallant Fox and Sandy. Coming into the home stretch, Gallant Fox went wide. but he maintained his lead and pulled away from which one to win the Belmont Stakes by 4 lengths. Thus, Gallant Fox duplicates Sir Barton's feat of winning the Preakness, Kentucky Derby, and Belmont Stakes, America's Triple Crown. A truly great 3-year-old, one of the great thoroughbreds of all time, bred and owned by William Woodward and trained by James Fitzimmons, Gallant Fox.